All right, we're near 7 o'clock. Candy, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, January 24th of 2023, and the first item of business would be the roll call.
Okay, Lagaki. Mayaski.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Schumacher.
Here.
Venegas.
Here.
Pekalski.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
Graff. Hiley.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Okay, we have 10 alders present and 2 absent and excused.
All right, thank you. Minutes and reports are in the packet. Public comment, I had nobody signed up to speak. So that'll take us to communications and presentations. Are there any communications from the alders?
I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
You'll notice in the packet that the sustainability survey is live, and there is an informational sheet in the packet for that survey. So please spread the word to your various committees, your families, social networks, that this is going on. It'll be going for at least through February, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Any other communications from alders? And I have one communication from Director Ehlinger, and this is regarding the VITA.
As you may be aware, the City of Stoughton and the Stoughton Senior Center have kindly volunteered again to allow the VITA program to be at the the Stoughton Senior Center again this year. We are scheduled to open up on this coming Saturday, the 28th, for just setting appointments, though. If everybody's got their paperwork ahead of time and we have the availability, we'll start on the 28th, but it'll be the week after that, and then we're going all the way till April 8th. So come in, set up your appointment, get your taxes done, and we've got a lot of people looking forward to being busy this year.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Dave on that issue?
Dave, can you just tell us what the acronym stands for, just for people who are not?
Thank you. I should have said that. VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance.
Okay, thank you.
It's a free service.
Yes.
And it's not just for seniors, it's for anybody in the community?
It's for anybody in the community. Our site is not wage restricted. As I say to people, a W-2 for $18,000 versus a W-2 for $81,000, I've got the same amount of work doing it. We've got certain things that we cannot do. We will not do a Schedule E for rental properties, Schedule F for farms. If you have more than 10 capital gain transactions on a Schedule D, we won't do that. Schedule C, it depends upon the complexity of the business. We'd look at that on a case-by-case basis, but we've got 3 CPAs who are involved in the program, so we do have the expertise. So there's, with the exception of married filing separate, because Wisconsin's a community property state, that gets to be a real complex return. Department of Revenue has asked us not to do those returns. Other than that, we're pretty well open on any type of return.
And what are the dates again that you're going to be there?
We're starting to take appointments this Saturday, January 28th, and then if I can add in my head, February 5th would be the next Saturday, and we're there till April 8th every Saturday.
And so, okay. And so can they go online to make an appointment first? Or
Nope,
is it all
have to
just
come into
show
the
up?
senior center to make an appointment. That's when you'd also be picking up the packet. We've got 2 forms that have to be filled out along with all your tax documents.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. That's a great service to our community.
You're most welcome.
All right, and then have another communication. Speaking of the senior center, Cindy has a communication for us.
Hi, I just wanted to come before you and let you know, I'm sure you've seen in the news that some of the home-delivered meals within Dane County are being affected by Little John's stopping business yesterday. We are one of them. So as of yesterday, we were told that we would not be getting food. So we, speaking of a great staff and dedicated individuals, no Meals on Wheels will be stopped. We're going to continue with our congregate site. Our nutrition site coordinator also has a license for a licensed kitchen. So she will be cooking, and we will continue Meals on Wheels as scheduled. The county holds that contract, so we have no control over who those caterers are. So we're going to do the best we can until they provide another caterer. But I just wanted to let you know that no services will be stopped here in Stoughton.
Do we know, because isn't Little John's waiting for their new facility to be completed? Is that part of the problem?
No.
And they got kicked out of their
Well,
current
I think that's
facility?
part of the program, but I think they knew that, there were some problems there.
Okay.
So just wanted to let you know that we'll be continuing those services.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. One other communication, the online packet does look a little different tonight, so I'll try to help you along. If you're on a laptop, you might be able to use your bookmark in order to see the individual documents, and I can try to refer you to the page numbers, and you can provide some input to me throughout the week on whether or not this worked or didn't work for you compared to downloading the packet, which is what we traditionally do. The next item is we do have a presentation tonight, and this is coming from STI, which is known as Stoughton Trailers Incorporated. And I'm going to share some slides, and who would like to start? Bob.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for providing time tonight to talk a little bit about the property we recently acquired over on the corner of B and Highway 51. So the property is about little under, or right around 182 acres. And you can see on the slides includes a significant space, I think minimally, about 72 acres for stormwater, nature, features, trails, walking paths, bike paths, and hopefully a large community park. So I want to talk a little bit about why we're interested in a project like this and what brought us to this. So a little bit of background. Stoughton Trailers has been in the community for since 1961. More recently, we've had significant growth. Not only have we expanded operations in our manufacturing locations of Broadhead, Stoughton, and Evansville, Wisconsin, we've also expanded into new manufacturing operations in Waco, Texas, as well as West Point, Mississippi. So with all that growth, we've been hiring not only people into our Wisconsin facilities, but down south. And right now that employment is right around about 2,000 people building our products. But we've also had to attract to the Stoughton area more professional positions. Those are engineers, they're sales personnel, accountants, you name it, any type of support staff. And for the last several years, as we've been building up that team, we found it's been more and more difficult to attract the young professional families to Stoughton. And I'm not here to speak negatively of Stoughton. I was born and raised in Stoughton, still live here. have 3 kids that have gone through the school system. I'm very much a Stoughton person, and I think our whole family is. But the reality is, when you look at some of the communities, how they've developed around the area, and what I think Stoughton is compared to when people look at a place to live and work, it just hasn't measured up in the past with some things that are going on and growing on communities like Verona and Middleton and Wanakee and things like that. So I think everybody's aware of some of the growth that they've had in the school systems there and the flood of people that have been moving to those communities. So what we found is Stoughton was lower on the list as far as where people wanted to locate. And we want to do something to change that. Again, the young professionals, they're looking at some of the new things available in these other communities, some of the athletic fields, parks, nature areas, and we felt that there was an opportunity to work with the city of Stoughton and help develop something a little bit more unique in our community that can help us be more competitive with those other communities. And again, try to attract more population growth, more of the young professional families, and really work to grow Stoughton. As part of that too, as we've expanded, we've also wanted to put in a new office administrative building, which we'll feel will employ up to about 200 people. We want to make that part of this site as well. So there's a combination of things along with the large park, including our office building. But again, we're anxious and excited to work with the city of Stoughton to try to make this a reality. We think a large community park this size will be something everybody can enjoy, not only the current residents, but people looking to visit Stoughton, whether it's to enjoy the park or to play in the athletic fields that would likely be there, or anything else, but to bring people to Stoughton to play, to enjoy themselves, and hopefully to locate. So that is our intention with this, and we know that effort doesn't just stop with a park, but we do think this is something that can add to what Stoughton has to, all the many things Stoughton has to offer, from the lake to the river, and a lot of good businesses and great people in this community. We think this can be a benefit. So it's been great so far as we've been exploring this opportunity. It's been great working with the mayor. Rodney Shields has done a fantastic job. The Parks Department has been great. A lot of work to do yet to figure out the detail of this and exactly how it all comes together, but we're motivated to make it happen, and anxious to work more with the city to make this a reality. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to a representative from MSA to further detail this project.
Thank you, Bob. So one reason we're coming before you is looking at the comp plan. There's an excerpt on here on the screen that shows the purple is planned mixed use, the speckled yellow as planned neighborhood, and the green is park and open space. While those uses are similar to what we presented in that concept you just saw, it is got some changes, especially when it comes to the park space. As Bob mentioned, looking at this as a larger park, as well as some unknowns and changes in requirements for stormwater, has increased that amount of land dedicated for that, for stormwater management, for the park space. And so for consistency moving forward, this is in an area that was done, a neighborhood plan, Linder plan from 2006, I believe, that detail it even further. So what we're looking at is looking at a comp plan amendment. And part of that process and discussion with staff is consideration of actually removing the existing neighborhood plan, because that was done when there was consideration of a Walmart back then that has been moved to another location. It's 15 plus years old. So to be consistent, we're looking at doing a process now that is what their future here of Bob's looking at for STI Holdings. And so we are looking to go to Plan Commission next month and the following day back to council. So we felt it was important to come today initially to outline that process and that consideration so that it doesn't blindside you the day after we talk to Plan Commission. So if Plan Commission recommends our public participation plan, which is outlined here, which includes 2 Plan Commission meetings, 1 council meeting, and public hearing. We're also going to do a development-led public meeting ahead of those. So there would be a public meeting specifically to get some reactions prior to bringing this through the official process. There'll be outline of how it will be promoted. But ultimately, basically, it's following the statute required for comp plan amendments outside of we are doing that development-led public meeting in addition. So I just want to give a little background of why this is coming forward as it is. The intent is to roll through the process February and March and actually be coming back hopefully in April for approval of the comp plan amendment and starting to move forward with the urban service area amendment. So this is also outside of the current urban service area. So we'll be looking at amending that and working with the city to submit that as well in that same time frame. So appreciate the time. We're here to answer any questions if there are any, but looking to see you next month.
All right, thank you. Are there any initial questions from anyone? Alderperson Hunt and then President Hirsch.
I was wondering, will the new plan be available anytime soon or before, just before that public meeting? The new development plan?
Sure. So you saw a generalized one that was in your packet tonight. There will be a further detailed one for that meeting. I can't say exactly how soon prior to that meeting, but it is open for everyone to see it. We are starting in the process of looking at preliminary engineering. So this is currently just based on generalities that we know from working on 51 West, just south of here, that subdivision, of the needs of the site. But there will be more detailed prior to that meeting, but can't say if it's just a week or a few days prior to that meeting.
Sure. So the public meeting is just part of the, before the Plan Commission meeting, that's when you're going to have the public meeting. You're not going to have a separate public meeting out in the community to really try to get, more feedback. I don't know how many people actually show up to, planning committee public meetings, but if you really want input, maybe you need to actually have it in the community somewhere and have it really well advertised if you're looking for better information. I mean, that's what, I've seen you guys do before for parks and stuff like that, to actually look at things, but maybe you'll do that later on.
Well, I appreciate the statement. Yes. So to clarify, we'll be coming back for Plan Commission to recommend to council the public participation plan, which outlines the steps, which would include after that meeting having a public open meeting. Likely, we're looking at potentially talking to the school or the church that's near this area, right to the east. And so it would not be on the city properties, it would be through the neighborhood, and that would be prior to it coming back with a Plan Commission, looking at the actual concept and having a reaction to it. So public would be involved prior to that meeting.
All right, thanks for the clarification. And also, I just want to say, I'm really happy that you guys have chosen Stoughton to make your headquarters. It's been a while, and I think it's going to be fun working with you.
All right. Alder Jensen.
I have an optimistic question. When you need to expand, are you allowing yourself enough land there to expand?
We believe we are, and yeah, that's been an important aspect that we wanted to make sure we included in the design. So yeah, we're definitely thinking about that and going through the with the architect group to make sure that that's accommodated. Yep.
Go ahead, Alder Schumacher.
Got one more question on you. You said about 200 people to go into the office space, the professional space that you're planning in there. Are those 200 existing, or is it a balance from where you have them now plus some additional headcount?
It's a mix. Again, with our growth plans, there's going to be additional people that are coming in. Right now, we don't have a lot of space in our current facilities. Those of you that are familiar with our current administrative building, we've needed a new one for maybe over 30 years, maybe more than that. So we have a lot of people working from home and working from off-site that would be brought in. Now, those are not, those particular are not new jobs, but it's more people into the area. And then all the people that we have currently at our various facilities here in town and beyond. Because we do have some administrative staff that is in the Evansville area and the Broadhead area that we would look to consolidate into this main administrative building.
All right, thanks.
All right. Anybody online have any questions?
I have a question.
Alderperson Caravello.
Just one quick question, which might be premature at this point, but speaking of your existing facility and your existing offices, thoughts about what will happen with those when the new stuff is ready to go?
You're right, it is a little premature on that. Look, the existing building, we would like to move out of. Now, we are looking at ways, we still have an R&D center there in part of it. We're looking at how we can move that to our manufacturing location and have some of that equipment more tied to our maintenance departments and the manufacturing operations. But we are willing to explore what the opportunities are for that property and those buildings outside of Stoughton Trailers.
All right. So basically, there's a few things going on here. The property had been annexed previously, so we don't have to worry about that. They mentioned the urban service area amendment, which is something that we worked through with the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission for the stormwater management system. They mentioned the comprehensive plan and what the plan is to address that, and then the public participation plan. We did schedule a schedule for an extra plan commission meeting, so we can make sure we get the proper notices for the public hearing. So that's already been done. Kind of internally, where we're working on things, we have meetings with Stoughton Utilities to understand, what their needs are going to be to service this area. Am I missing anything, Rodney?
No, you're certainly hitting those on the head. You're certainly going to have subdivision and plating and zoning activities to occur as well. As the group knows, there's a public facilities or park facilities planning process that's kind of running parallel that really focuses a little bit on this area as well. So that's running at a parallel track at the same time as well. There will be a cost reimbursement agreement that we plan to present to Finance and Council at the February 14th meeting. We're just tweaking that and working collaboratively to get that ready for Finance and Council on the 14th.
And then we're in the process of going through the feasibility study with the park area. So we've been reaching out to focus groups. Some of you may have been contacted to participate in that, to really understand, what the needs are for the community and the region as a whole. So it'll be interesting to see how that process goes. And we appreciate the fact that the City Council approved the funding for that in the budget for this year. So that work is underway as well. Anything else you guys want to add? It's been busy.
No, it's been busy. Thanks for all the help that the city has provided thus far, and again, we're looking forward to and excited about working with everybody here and make this happen. So thank you.
All right, thanks for being here tonight. All right, so we're sustainability survey been covered. Consent agenda would be the first action item on our list tonight. There's a couple items in there. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Reeves, a second by Schumacher. Would anybody like anything acted upon separately from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. All right, so we're at page 33 in the packet for anybody that's keeping score here, and that would be ordinance 1 of 2023, and this is a second reading, and this came from the CACP committee, which is, I believe it's Alderperson Venegas.
Yep. All right, this is 001 of 2023, amending City Ordinance, Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2, Section 2-67A of the Stoughton Municipal Code. I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Did you want to give an overview? I think you can kind of see the language in red here, but you want to...
Yeah, this is a second reading. First reading was January 10th. It's changing the wording in this ordinance to say that it's keeping the citizen members shall count in determining a quorum. The citizen members shall not serve as chair. It's removing we're crossing out or vice chair of a committee, and then adding if a citizen member serves as vice chair of a committee, a second city council member shall be selected at the time of the vice chair's selection to be the alternate, absent of the chair at the ad hoc CIP committee. So this is kind of trying to clarify what happens for CIP when we're selecting a citizen member as vice chair.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I have
President Hirsch?
I have a question. When you look down, so I get what was in the resolution, but when you look at the paperwork, there's things that the citizen under section 2-67, it still says that citizen members shall not serve as chair or vice chair of a committee. I think that needs to be amended to just chair, or use the same language that's up above, that if a citizen member serves as a vice chair, second city council member shall be selected, because there's a couple of places where it says that citizen member cannot be a chair or vice chair.
So I think we took that language and then we added this other verbiage in the resolution. So
Right, but it's a number of places.
that would be changed once this is approved.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that might be from just back in July of 2021 that kind of maybe started the conversation.
We had a little go back and forth between the council and the committee. And this would be for the 5 of the 6 standing committees, so it's not exclusive to CACP. So it would be Park and Rec, Personnel, Public Works, Public Safety as well. So just to make sure everybody understands that. So it would, basically, we're allowing a citizen member to be the vice chair, but we would have another council member attend the CIP meeting if the chairperson wasn't available, which normally, unless there's a scheduling conflict, they would be.
So then, when we do our reorg meeting, usually in May or end of April, this needs to be put on everybody's agenda, that it's chair, vice chair, and if it's a vice chair, is a citizen member, that we select another council member. So everybody that's head of those committees need to remember that.
Exactly, yep. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, and any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. All right, we're jumping up to page 41 in the packet here, and that is going to be R9 of 2023, and this one came from the Plan Commission.
And this one is R9 of 2023, approving a certified survey map to combine the properties at 1801 and 1715 US Highway 51, 138, and I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Mieski. Alderperson Caravello.
And this is a request by Cummins Emissions Solutions to combine these lots and just combine them into one lot for the, to accommodate future warehouse addition.
That is correct. Anything you want to add, Director Shield?
Nope, that was a perfect explanation.
All right, and you can kind of see on the map here what they're hoping to do. Any questions or concerns from the council? So you wouldn't see the warehouse from Main Street, is that correct, Rodney?
Yeah, this isn't action on the expansion, but it would be between the 1801 and 1715 area. So it's kind of in the back portion of their facility, but that'll subsequently go to Plan Commission for review and action.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is on page 51, and that's R10 of 2023. This one also comes from the Plan Commission.
And this one is R10 of 2023, approving a conditional use permit for an indoor commercial entertainment restaurant use at 183 West Main Street, Stoughton, Wisconsin, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Alderperson Caravello.
And this one is for a restaurant that would like to use that space at 183 West Main Street. The thing that's a little different about this request, I'm going to take this from their notes about this, is that it's a entity calling themselves the Black Cat Cafe and Gallery, and they focus on gluten-free, dairy-free, allergen-friendly foods to vegetarians, vegans, and folks with food allergies and intolerances. So, sounds like a mighty good idea to me. I think there's a lot more of those people out there. Well, seems like there's quite a few folks that would be interested in this place.
And I would add that this is in an existing business. Right now, they currently have a custom gift card shop in there. There's an artist that operates that and would also operate the cafe. And then there's also a picture framing business in there as well that the building owner has. So basically, they're working with an architect to make sure that they have the necessary amenities to be able to use it, and a conditional use permit would allow them to have this use in that facility. Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you. Clockwise. All right, next item is on page 67, and that's R11 of 2023. And this one here is coming from the Finance Committee, Alderperson Schumacher.
I think I've got the remainder of them, too.
Looks like you're lucky.
Busy guy.
Yeah. This is R11 of 2023, resolution to amend the 2022 adopted budget for the Landmarks Commission. So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Alderperson Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
This one is just kind of an accounting in and out. This is from the Landmarks federal grant and making the journal entry for it.
Yeah, I think they started doing some design guideline updates, and they weren't able to complete them last year, so we're basically carrying over the money to complete the work. Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. We're jumping up to page 70. Page 70, and this is a first reading, and it's ordinance 2, Alderperson Schumacher.
This ordinance 2 amends section 2-585, the hotel motel tax of the city of Stoughton. This is the first reading for this. Some of the updates that are in there are some of the language is being updated in there to be consistent with what our current practices are. Also an update based on the Patriot Act of 2001. Establishes that any forfeitures, interest, and penalties will be reported within the general fund. Greg, do you have a question about something yet, or?
Alderperson Jensen?
Yeah, recommended, yeah.
Oh,
Just a question for the finance director.
Yep.
Dave, do you feel that there is any need to expedite
Greg, we can't
this?
hear what you're saying.
Greg, your microphone.
I'm asking Dave if there's any reason to expedite this, to waive the rules and vote on it tonight?
I don't think there's any real need, but if you're going to do that, you want to change the date that the new tax rate goes into effect, because we've got to give 120 days. So the language is based upon assuming it passes at the next session.
I would only do that if you felt it was necessary.
I don't believe it's necessary to move it up.
All right. Thanks for the thought. Any other questions on this one, or anything you want to add, Dave? I appreciate you bringing this one to the forefront.
And actually, a thank goes out to Matt's firm, because they let us know that the Wisconsin statutes allow 8%, not 6%, and we are the only city in the Dane County that's still at 6%.
Okay. So this one will be back at the next meeting. If you have any questions between now and then, you could certainly email them to Dave, and he'll be glad to make sure we can have the information for you. Oh, President Hirsch.
Oh, Dave, I'm just wondering if, okay, so if this passes, do we then send a notice out to all the hotels, and does it affect like bed and breakfasts as well? And that's our job, is to send out this change to them?
Correct. All hotels, motels, and bed and breakfasts would have to be notified of it. We would be publishing a legal notice in our paper of record also for that. The statute is quiet in regards to the amount of notice that you need to give for a change in the rate. It's when you're first implementing it, you need 120 days for notice. So talking with Rick Manthe, we went the conservative route and said we need to give 120 days notice to those new vendors so that they can update their computers on a timely basis, so that their computers, cash registers, whatever, calculate correctly.
Now, does this also include like Airbnb and VRBO kind of stuff?
Correct. Any, the term is transient resident, where they don't live for more than 30 contiguous days. It would affect, so yes, Airbnbs, VRBO, whatever entity you want to consider, they're applicable.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Next item is on page 75. Alderperson Schumacher.
all right. This is R12 of 2023, a resolution for the city of Stoughton mileage reimbursement rate to be indexed to the IRS rate. So moved.
Second. Second by Alderperson Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
Based on what the, from the IRS, we are moving the rate up to by 14.5 cents per mile, making that adjustment first, and then indexing it thereafter to what the IRS mileage standard is moving forward.
All right. Anything you want to add to that, Director Aylinger?
Just the fact that last time we changed the rate was almost a decade ago. It's time. The costs have gone up since then. And indexing it to the IRS rates is pretty much standard in the industry. You've got a outside party that looks at it every year, and then we don't have to try and analyze what's the appropriate amount for the city of Stoughton. just rely on that outside party. Most of the time, the rates go up. There have been a couple occasions when the rates go down. You do hear the employees complaining about that, but we just say we're tied to the IRS rates, whatever that is.
President Hirsch?
Dave, do we, because I don't know if in our budget we had allowed it for a certain amount of vehicle expenditures or mileage, do we have to amend the budget now too to reflect this?
That question came up at finance, and the problem is I don't know the dollar amounts. We're not consistent, and I'm trying to get this changed, but we're not consistent between the departments where those mileage costs are located. And so it's hard to verify what is for mileage. Obviously, if somebody goes to a conference, you're going to have mileage. Not Human Services, Stoughton Senior Center would have mileage when they go out in their case management to visit their clients. But other than that, we don't have a huge amount of mileage that I'm aware of. So I didn't think it was going to be a material thing that we have to really look at tweaking that. I think the departments would be able to absorb it in the current year budget. If we find out that that assumption's incorrect, in 3-4 months, we may have to revisit that, but I don't think it's going to be a huge material amount.
Okay, great.
And I was just reminded too that we do have a pool van that is available for use. In fact, we'd referred up as the primary vehicle just so that we don't have to worry about insurance and everything else. So another way to keep down the mileage costs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is R13 of 2023, which starts on page 82. Alderperson Schumacher. This one went through personnel and finance, right?
Yep. So this is R13, 2023, a resolution to amend the 2023 adopted budget for city employee market adjustments. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Jensen.
We're going to have AJ give a presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll turn this over to AJ and Dave and Mayor. You guys did a ton of work on this, so.
All right.
So Dave, if you want to pull that up.
I'm going to pull it up. So.
You have it?
Yep, I have
Okay.
it. It's in the packet.
Okay,
right?
first of all, I want to thank all of the employees that have taken the time tonight, both online and have shown up here. I think that's fantastic, and we appreciate that. Secondly, thanking the council for setting the sustainable funds aside during the budget process. It really definitely helped us to see that there's support there. So what I'd like to start with is the next screen, is talking about a little bit of history and what's happened throughout the the past multiple years in regards to compensation. Some of you were on council back in 2014. I know the mayor was, and there was a study that was approved, and that study was started in 2014. I came on shortly after that study was started, and we worked very hard with our employees, went through all of the steps that were required, rewriting job descriptions and determining what pay grade should be, even going as far as sharing that information with the employees. The Springstead study was never implemented due to no funding mechanism. So the study was done, employees were told what the compensation should be, and then it was never implemented. So salaries fell behind as increases were not equivalent to COLA. Our increases have never been equivalent to COLA, and COLA is the cost of living adjustments. Prior to 2014, we'd experienced furloughs, which is where you get laid off for a short period of time, and very low increases. We've had between 1% and 2%. Last year we had 3%, and then we had a market year this year with the 4%, which was greatly appreciated. Our neighboring communities, such as Dane County, they gave a 9% increase this year. So you can see, there's a difference there. And then the state jobs, they can also be way more attractive than what we have here locally because we really haven't made the effort to correct pay other than when somebody gives their notice and they're going to leave. We know that trying to be able to recruit for that is very difficult when our pay is lower. So often in those cases, either we try to offer more to that incumbent or we end up paying more to the individual coming in, which is real difficult for the other people who might be doing the same job, making less but having been here. Next slide. So today's environment, what do we experience? It's employees leaving due to compensation not being competitive. A neighboring community may be paying more. New hires may make more than the incumbent, like I just said, and they also may make more than the existing staff. So the message it's sending is pretty obvious. We do not value our existing staff that are not paid at market. Utilities compensation, that was brought in front of you back in August of 2022, and you took care of that. And those employees were extremely grateful for those corrections. But it's caused a lopsided situation between city and utilities. And you guys putting that money aside for the market corrections that we have tonight really gave us hope that maybe there will be some type of correction done tonight. Another one of the questions that message sends is, why should I stay working here when there's other jobs that are paying at market? Stoughton's a great city. It's a great place to work. But right now, with the way that inflation is affecting every one of us, we need to be able to put the bread on the table. Next slide. Our true greatest asset is these people in the room and the people online, the people that really meet the expectations of our constituents and continue to work day in and day out to make Stoughton a phenomenal community to live in. Our employees, as we talked about, received a wonderful 4% on 1/1 of 2023, which was the largest increase in 9 years. And then again, COLA actually came in at 2023 at 8.7%, so a little under half. This is a one-time adjustment that I'm asking for, is to move those employees to market that are not. We need to be able to retain our staff, keep the talent, and offer the wonderful competitive package that we have, but we need that compensation to be a part and close that out. Next slide. The resources that we use. So the HR department did some research. We used a Dane County Cities and Villages report. You may have heard of that. That was something that Tim helped spearhead with Dane County Citizens and Villages. That report was dated 2021. So what we did is we looked at what the cost of increases were in those communities. We also looked at NeoGov as a source. That's the government site that all of us put our information into from the HR side in regards to what we're paying. We looked at the other neighboring communities as well, collected their job descriptions, collected their pay information. And then there are several positions that we currently have that are exactly equivalent on the private side. So for Dave, for example, to be looking for a position right now, he can go into the private sector, and that's an equivalent position to what he's doing here. So it's apples to apples. And there's several positions that are like that. So how did we arrive at what we were doing? So HR gathered the information from the neighboring communities. We pulled the reports. We had the Cities and Villages report. We looked at that. And we looked at Middleton, Monona, Verona, Sun Prairie, Oregon, Cottage Grove, and McFarland. I don't expect you to be able to read that. We pulled together what the comps were. And then after we had that data, David and I sat down and we began evaluating every position and we did not take into consideration how much money was available at all. We said, let's shoot for the stars and see what we could do if we looked at every employee and put them directly at what market shows. So when that happened, we sat down, we looked at the current compensation that was on our reports, on the data that we had from NeoGov, on the data that we had from Cities and Villages, as well as information that I had collected ahead of time from some of the directors that they had supplied when I initially sat down with them and we went through the process of talking about compensation before any of this was on the table. So I was able to refer back to those conversations to what employees they had identified as saying, hey, you know, if there's something that we could possibly do when we're setting the budget for 2023, here are all my notes. We took those into consideration as well. We also looked at years of applicable experience. Many employees have what are called hybrid positions. You hear us saying we wear many, many hats. Well, we took that into consideration looking at those blended positions, and we came up with the compensation based on that. Following that process, we sat down with Mayor Swadley and the director and went through exactly what we had gone through for our process, and we were extremely transparent. That was our goal going into this. Having two people who have over 45 years of experience looking at what the compensation should be. I used to be a comp analyst. David's been in finance. Finance people stay on top of what pay is because it affects them. And we sat down with those directors. We did have some who had made comments saying, you know, this, I don't know if this is really competitive. So we said, go ahead and take some time, bring that information back. And in most of those situations, all but one, we were able to come up with the information that substantiated the numbers that we had. So with that being said, the process was done looking at every single adjustment, and we had that support. Next slide. Next, one more. You missed one. Go one more down to end results. There we go. So after all of the market adjustments were made and discussions with the department heads were had, we were approximately 25,000 over, and Dave, 27 now. So Dave was able to find that funding, and I'm going to have him talk about that a little bit when we get to that point. But it wasn't every employee that needed a market adjustment. 84 out of 94 were identified for a market adjustment. Those that were not identified, it was interesting, they fell into those categories that I talked to you about why people leave. Those that were at market were recent hires. They had a position change, so we changed their compensation, or they had an adjustment because they were leaving. And then the last one was, it was just by chance. So it was one of those four categories, which is quite interesting because it ties back to what we had talked about. One thing that I caution you on is to remember this is about the position and not the person and their performance. This is about the job and their years in the seat. Dave, if you'd like to talk about funding, switch the slide.
Are there any questions for AJ at this point before we do that?
Okay, David?
As you may remember, when we were working on the budget at Council of the Whole, the desire was expressed to find some way to get market adjustments for the employees outside of the Stoughton utilities. But we also knew that we needed to have sustainable revenue for this. I didn't want to give lots of employees raises in 23 only to say in 24, oh, we're going to claw back most of that raise now. I don't think the employees would have appreciated that too much. So when we were actually at the last meeting of Committee of the Whole, I had told everybody that I'd found about $425,000 in sustainable revenue, which I'll get to in a minute, that could be used for this. And so working with AJ and I, we kind of ballparked the number that we needed for both the general employees and the police union, which was approved in a separate resolution. But we put $350,000 aside of sustainable revenue for that. At the end of the day, we used about $377,000, so I've still got some wiggle room that I didn't take all the available revenue. Now, as I said, it has to be a sustainable revenue source. I got to have it every year moving forward, or else we haven't increased the base of the employees. Well, the first one is pilot payments that come from Stoughton Utilities, payments in lieu of taxes. We're going to have that every year. I sincerely doubt Stoughton Utilities will cease to exist. So we're going to have that revenue going forward. Another revenue source that we have every year, we charge the surrounding 4 towns for fire services, and so they pay a portion of that. The only reason that the only way that that revenue source will disappear is if the 4 towns collectively or individually, decide they're going to open up their own fire department. I don't see that happening with levy limits. So those are two sustainable revenues. What we used to do in the past at the city, we had policies saying we're going to use those revenues to offset capital purchases so we keep our debt levy down. Well, under the current levy limits, which have been placed over a decade now, debt levy is exempt from levy limits. I can issue as much debt as I want. There's a certain other restriction, but we're nowhere near that. I can issue as much debt as I want for debt levy. It's operational levy that we're restricted. So I'd rather use those revenue sources that I talked about earlier as operational levy so that we can stay within the levy limits and still give the employees the money that they need for their wages. Because remember, the vast majority of services by the city are provided by our employees. You know, if you want those services, you've got to have staff to perform them. And I've been in local governments where we have been a training ground. We're always the lowest, and you just have a turnover. It makes it very hard to progress forward. So retaining our employees and hiring new employees to replace the retirements, that's what we needed to do. So I took the direction from the department, or from the council of the whole, to find a source, and I feel that I found sustainable revenue source for everything. So I guess I'm going to open up the floor now for any questions, I guess AJ's got one more slide.
Yep, I've got just a couple things. I think Dave really hit it on the head. We talked at the last committee of the whole meeting about the city of Stoughton being a training ground. We're not approaching it, we are. And since we started working on this, on Friday I got a potential notice of termination. I also had another one last week terminate in the senior center, and then we had another one today. So we're at a point of desperation. We need to be competitive, and one of those employees is potentially knocking on the door of leaving us and going to Dane County. And I can't stress enough, we need this to happen. So if you can switch to the next slide, David.
Tim, actually.
Yeah, Tim, I'm sorry. If you can please show your support for our employees and pay them a fair wage. That's all we're asking for here. Again, the city of Stoughton is not looking to be on the high end. We want to be in the middle. That's always been our goal. Right now, we're not in the middle, at least for 84 of our employees. So I ask you to please vote yes for this.
All right.
Any
Thank
questions?
you both. I would just add a couple of comments. As Dave mentioned, it really comes down to having the people to provide the services that our community deserves. And certainly retaining our staff goes a long ways in doing that. They're highly trained. We have many experienced people here. And, you know, if you've worked in an organization, you know what it's like when you start turning over people. Not only does it make it more challenging to maintain the level of services, but it also creates additional workload for those that are still here. So those are two of the things I wanted to mention. And then the other part of my elevator speech is, as AJ mentioned, you know, we compete with the private sector, certainly, but also the public sector in Dane County. As I mentioned in the past, they have revenue sources that we don't have. Dane County has a sales tax, and they have a wheel tax. Our neighboring community of Oregon implemented a wheel tax this year. I'm not here to do that, but that's what's happening in other municipalities. So they have additional revenue sources that we don't have. The state of Wisconsin has a sales tax, and they also collect income tax revenues. So when you hear about the state surplus is being built because the price of everything has gone up, and they're charging tax on that, so their collections have gone up. The price of wages have gone up, so the income tax that employees are paying in has gone up with it. So we're competing against that. And here in Dane County, we're providing 30% of the growth in the entire state of Wisconsin in the last 10 years. So Dane County is the economic engine for the state of Wisconsin right now. So what we're seeing is the workforce is becoming more and more competitive, and what we're trying to do is be able to recruit and retain our people. We know we have a lot of work to do besides this. We're going to have a lot of folks that are going to be eligible to retire here in the next several years. We've had a few that we've already retired. We have to be in a position to keep our people here as long as they're willing to work for us. And then when it comes time to replace them due to retirement, we have to be competitive so we can fill those positions. We would open it up to any questions or comments that anybody might have. President Hirsch.
First off, I mean, I'm quite impressed. I mean, we gave you this charge, when was it, like November? And we're in January, and we had holidays, and you guys, you know, AJ and Dave and the mayor really busted your butts to, like, get everything done. And I'm very thankful of your expediency and your professionalism to really work with staff to get the market rate. I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I commend you, and, you know, for the staff. Yeah, I think, you know, the mayor and I have been on, and Greg has been on council for a long time, and especially during 2014, and I just know that we were all like, we listened to the Springstead study and we're all excited, and then you had the finance director said, well, there's nothing here to pay for it, and it was just like happy, and then the look on the staff faces, and especially Cindy, I know you worked really, really hard on that, was just demoralizing, I think, not only for you but for the council. So to get to a point where we can actually pass something and to actually get to where we need to be, or at least start to get to where we need to be, I think is really cool, and I really encourage everybody to support this.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments or thoughts? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries.
I just want to say thank you that you guys listened and are really supporting all of the staff here. I know that like I said, we've got people here, people online, but we really appreciate you understanding. And Regina, thank you as well for that.
Ditto.
All right, let's see, two more items. R14 of 2023, which is on page 105, and that's coming from the Finance Committee. Don't stop now.
Nope, keep going. R14 2023 is a resolution by the Common Council for the City of Stoughton approving cost reimbursement agreement for Stonecrest development. So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Alderperson Schumacher, I think Rodney has a document too that he's going to put up.
Okay,
Matt.
great.
I do.
This is, we're doing an amendment into this agreement that we had already approved. And I think it's only to the severability part of this agreement. Is that true? Rodney or Matt? I know you had some specific language that, and I hadn't seen that prior to this.
Yeah, so my understanding is that you're being asked to approve this agreement. The language that is highlighted in yellow is a change that we made today that, frankly, the Finance Committee didn't see this language either because I had an email problem today. So we're asking you to approve this agreement with the change that is shown with this language highlighted in yellow in a couple of different places. And I'd be happy to get into or either provide more information about the agreement and how it works and what the changes are, or answer questions.
Are there any questions at this point from the council members? So basically, we had passed something previously, is that correct, Rodney?
Yeah, we had previously acted on the agreement. The developer had a recommended slight change, and that's been incorporated into the document, working with City Attorney Dragney. And more recently, we've been working on the Stoughton Trailers cost reimbursement agreement, and in doing so, we identified some areas that are now highlighted in this document that we'd like to incorporate to be consistent with the methodology that we plan to use going forward. So the language, the first item on the top of the page here, if the developer fails to pay any costs when due, the city may increase the maximum amount of the required deposit up to $25,000. I think that goes without saying. We're just trying to make sure if they're not somebody that's paying their bills on time, it offers us an opportunity to increase that deposit amount. We're not expecting that with this developer or any, to be honest with you, but nonetheless, it offers us that opportunity. We also, in reviewing the deposit amount necessary for the urban service area amendment, originally this had shown as $25,000, but reflecting on past urban service area amendment processes we've gone through with the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission and our costs associated with that, we think that $15,000 is an appropriate amount, and 25 was frankly more than probably was necessary. So the 15, we think, recognizes the appropriate cost to incorporate as a deposit for that activity. So the two 15s in this section B are changing those to 15 from 25, and the addition of this one sentence along with the severability item that was identified earlier.
All right. Any questions or comments or clarifications needed? Alderperson Jensen.
Question for Rodney. If this should happen where somebody is late or somehow misses a payment, what criteria would you be using to make a decision on how much, and who would be making the decision? Would it be coming to council as to how much that increase would be? Because it's up to 2,500 or 25,000.
I think Finance Director Ellinger would be the one probably making that decision. Okay. I think it would probably automatically or default to the maximum amount of 25,000 if we were having that problem.
This is Matt. I'll just weigh in. If there was any discussion among staff about what that amount would be, the focus of the discussion would be trying to make sure that there's enough money on deposit to cover expenses that are anticipated as they become due over about a 60-day billing cycle. So we'd be looking at what's coming, what's coming in the project, what kind of expenses are anticipated, and if we're in a situation where we have a problem collecting payments, we'd be looking forward and saying, in order to move forward, how much do we need to have on deposit to protect ourselves against having unpaid expenses?
Can I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And I would add, we're also reviewing some ordinances as they may or may not relate to this. So you'll probably see something in a couple months. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Last item is R15 of 2023, and this is on page 118. Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, this is R15 of 2023, a resolution authorizing and directing proper city officials to enter into an agreement with Parisi Construction, LLC for roadway improvements to Deer Point Drive and Oak Opening Drive. So moved.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
This is just doing the road improvements that are kind of in between the Ace Hardware and the new roundabout and back into Oak Opening into the KPW residential phase. About $400,000 construction bid.
All right, anything you want to add to it, Director Shield?
Yeah, I'll just highlight that the low bidder is Parisi Construction. I think that was a nice fit. They're actually the contractor that is working for the developer in the Highway 51 West area. They will be the contractor working with that developer to install the water main north to south between Kettle Park West and 51 West. And following that, they'll be doing the surface work for the pavement for that part of the development, as well as this construction activity. So I think the coordination will be will work well, knowing that they're the contractor for both 51 West and this project.
And what can you say about the bid amount? I mean, the base bid was below what's budgeted, but are there other things?
Yeah, there's there's engineering costs, both for construction administration and design work, but certainly very attractive numbers came in. The cost estimates were from long ago. Ironically, they're less than what we needed, which is surprising, given the fact that these estimates were prepared as part of the Kettle Park West development for the improvements within the town that we'd anticipated paying. So these numbers came in very, very attractively based on our budget.
Are you going to take credit for that, or you attribute it to something?
I can't take credit, but I don't know what to attribute it to exactly, but it does show that when the estimates were put together, we knew that it wasn't going to occur within the next couple of years, but they did forecast and budget accordingly. I don't think they overcompensated, but they certainly didn't under budget or estimate that scope of work. So happy that it did come in under budget.
President Hirsch and then Alderperson Reeves.
Rodney, this stretch of road, it's widening to fit that bike lane, correct? Is that one of the
Yeah, the
reasons as
pavement
well?
width is getting widened by 10 feet, 5 on either side.
So will it contain that bike lane that we had talked about when was approved years ago?
Yeah, in essence, it'll have additional 5, so you've got 2 travel lanes out there now without parking. The additional 5 feet will accommodate an area for bike accommodations as well.
And so will it be marked as that, or is it just?
Yeah, I think we're planning to mark it. We have to work with the town on whether we stripe that or not, but the intent is actually to provide specifically space for that purpose.
Okay, thanks, Rodney.
You're welcome.
And Alderperson Reeves was next, and did you have your hand up?
Mm-hmm.
Reeves and then Caravello.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this at finance too, but if I did my math right, it was like 290,000 under budget. So I'm really hopeful that all of the projects come in like that, and if so, I'd like to put in a plug for extra sidewalk repairs. That might be out of order, but since I'm not on Public Works, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Dave may have to, we may have to discuss that with Dave. This is actually funding specific for the TIF in that district, so I don't know that we'll be able to allocate such savings to projects outside of that area.
Oh, rats.
That's a nice try. Alderperson Caravello.
I just wanted, speaking to Regina's question about the bike lane, line item number 18 says pavement marking bike lane.
Yeah.
So there's monies in there.
I could just add one other thing. We did work with the town. We'd also planned to put a stop sign at the end of Deer Point where it intersects with Oak Opening Drive. They've authorized us to do that as part of this project as well. Currently, there's not a stop condition there.
All right. Alderperson Hunt, did you have something?
Actually, Rodney just answered my question. I wondered what that intersection at Rutland-Dunn Road would look like. I thought it might be a roundabout rather than a stop sign, but the stop sign is...
You talking at Rutland-Dunn or in Oak Opening or Rutland-Dunn in 51?
I meant where Oak Opening would butt into Rutland.
Oh, Deer Point Drive.
Oh, Deer Point.
Yeah.
So it goes Deer Point and Oak Opening goes all the way up to
138.
Rutland-Dunn.
Okay.
Deer Point's the one in front of Lumber, and Oak Opening is the one that goes north and south.
So that one is one of that.
So you're talking about the intersection of Oak Opening and Rutland-Dunn?
Yeah.
So way up at the top.
That is a stop condition with turn lanes. There is an actual, there's actually a turn lane on the south side, so there's a stop condition on Oak Opening at Rutland-Dunn Town Line Road. And then subsequently, there will be a roundabout at Rutland Dunn and 51 in 2026.
Right.
Thank you.
And
Roger.
just to add, there is going to be a roundabout at Highway B and AB. We had a meeting with the DOT, and they're going to move that up from 2026 to 2024. They took it out of the corridor plan and they put it into their safety plan, much like they did at Roby Road this year. So that's good news, because that's a bad spot there.
Do we know where?
And then AB? so that's-
B and AB, so the AB section. B goes toward Fitchburg.
Yep.
The Highway B 51 near Stoughton will still be 2026.
By the Kaganza Sanitation Building?
Yes, that's the one, yep. And then they're gonna do some other accommodations, which I think people will like as well.
Are they going to be reducing the speed limit at all that you're aware of?
Not at this point, Rodney, you could probably speak to that.
The speed limit is planned to be reduced from Roby Road to County Highway B to 35 miles an hour in 2026 as part of that roadway improvement. They're designing the improvements for that to be a posted speed of 35 in that stretch. North of County B, I think they still intend it to be 55.
Okay. Any other questions on the bid that's in front of you? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Look for a motion to adjourn. Jensen, second by Caravello. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any opposed? None opposed? Have a good night.
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion to not approve that and go